Season 2 of Tekken 8, it's already out, and I wanted to take my time to talk about it, but it is pretty obvious already that a ton of people in the community hate this update, and it's basically considered by many one of the worst balance patches in the history of the Tekken franchise. So I really want to talk about it, but taking it from a different perspective, and that is from the business standpoint, because it is a very relevant section of what is going on with the game, and basically one of the main influences on why this patch it is the way it is. And as you saw on the title, I'm comparing, basically the current state of the Tekken development team and Bandai as a company and their relationship with Tekken as an IP to what happened with Capcom fighting games in the early 2010s. And I'm going to explain all of that in detail, so stay until the end of the video so you can understand what I mean and why it is such an important comparison to take into account. The first key thing that we need to understand is basically what are the roles of people in the Tekken development team. A lot of people online are taking like the rage and anger into Harada and Morai because they are basically the public faces of Tekken as a franchise, but technically they are not in charge of balance, okay? Maybe they work, as consultants for the balance changes, but the person that is overseeing balance changes for this game, gameplay mechanics and all of that, it's Nakatsu, which is basically the third guy that you see, on a lot of videos for Tekken dev talks and stuff like that. He is supposed to be in charge of the balance changes, and you can see, for example, that there is some sort of tension inside the balance direction for the game, because for example Nakatsu talks about giving more like information on screen for like counter hits and basically punishes, and Harada says openly, I was very against this.
あれは堅くなにね、堅くなに俺が絶対に出すなって言ってたんですよ。俺と木本さんが大嫌いだった。そう、あえて大嫌いだった。要は数値化すること自体がもうなんていうの、難しく見える。いや難しく見えるというか、それが全部それが全てになっちゃうじゃないですか。世の中って数値化しない方が自分で考えたりとか、コンボとかもだってもうコンボの数を競うようになってきちゃうと、もう限界数と最低限の数だけの世界になっちゃうじゃないですか。だからそれはなんか逆にこう分かんないところがあっても面白いんじゃないかだったんだけど、最近はやっぱり昔と変わってきたのはストリーミングで見るっていう、そう見てる人が何が起きてるかが知りたいだったりとか、プレイヤーと同じ気持ちになりたいとか、そういう意味でニーズが変わったので、もう今回からもういいよいいよいいよって言ったんだけど、今までは時代はやっぱ違ったというか、鉄拳なりのアナログな面白さを出したいってなんかちょっと思いが強かったからダメって言ってたんだけども、今回からねオープンしてる、
Because Harada is technically like a legacy player for the Tekken franchise, and he said publicly, I was not, in favor of these changes or maybe this other stuff or whatever, but then, they convinced me. So it seems like basically the person that is moving the strings when it comes to the balance is not Harada. He's just giving his advice, and helping with the general maybe direction of the game, but that doesn't mean that he's gonna be heard, all the time. And it seems like Nakatsu is the person in charge for balance in Tekken 8. Of course, you should take everything that I'm saying with a grain of salt, okay? Because I'm not an insider of the company. I'm speculating about what's going on. But it is a relevant speculation to have when you want to talk about what is going on with business for this game. Because when you take big decisions for balance on a fighting game, a lot of the time they are related to what we could call, financial concerns and basically sales. Fighting games need to earn money after they come out, and when you have season 2, season 3, season 4, because fighting games nowadays last for basically 5 or 6 years, you need to keep selling the game. So they have financial concerns about what is going to be, the level of success that this game is going to have in the long run, because for the start it was already very successful financially speaking, okay? So maybe some of these balance changes are basically being taken with that in mind, and they think, okay, if we take this route with the balance, maybe more people want to play the game and we're gonna sell more copies. And the thing with this is that this is very, very relatable to what happened with Capcom in the 2010s. Now, the problems that Capcom had with their fighting games in the early 2010s are not necessarily the same problems that the Tekken dev team and Bandai Namco are having right now, but maybe they share the same core issue. Ono, of course, after the huge success that Street Fighter 4 was, had a ton of influence for Capcom fighting games during the early 2010s, and well, what happened? SF5 arguably the worst Street Fighter of all time as a package, as a product, only became a decent game at the end of its development cycle when Ono left. And also, SF6 had a ton of development trouble, the game should have been out earlier, etc, etc. So is this going on also with Tekken and with Bandai Namco? Is there someone at an executive level with a lot of influence that is taking bad decisions over and over for the Tekken franchise? I of course don't want to point into someone. It could be Harada, it could be Nakatsu, we don't know, okay? We don't know what's going on behind the scenes, but maybe there is a big problem like the one that was present with Ono and Capcom fighting games. And let me show you this clip of Maximilian talking about the Ono situation when he left Capcom, because it is very revealing about what might be happening also with Tekken as a franchise.
It's really cool. It's a big change. All I'm saying is that Ono leaving, it lines up with this giant change in how Capcom is approaching things, because Ono's not the one making the decisions anymore. In fact, that decision-making process ended 4 months ago, early in April, when he was moved out of the decision-making process, when they realized, oh, we can't make Street Fighter 6's dates, we have to do this. So things have already been changing, already getting into gear with Ono not being the one in charge, and there's already been reports from the leaker that things are getting better. Apparently there's new people in charge, things are taking place, Ono got moved out. I'm really happy about this, right? I'm really happy because things need to be changed. If you look at a surface level, things have not been great for Capcom fighting games. What's going on with the budgets? Why are they the way they are? Why were they gonna save most of the characters we wanted to MVCI to be DLC? Why is some of the Street Fighter V decisions, why did it take them so long to address the netcode? Like, while Ono is a huge part of the decision-making process and being involved in all these games, you can't just blame him for everything, right? He clearly was probably dealing with budgetary concerns from his peers. He probably was dealing with budgetary concerns from people above him, and he didn't get enough money or time to do things and had to hit dates and everything like that. We just learned that Street Fighter V literally had to come out before the end of fiscal year. So it's a complicated process. Games aren't just made by one person.
As Max said in his video, of course, we can't blame only one person. Video games and fighting games are made by huge teams. We can't only blame Harada or only blame Nakatsu, but there is clearly something weird going on behind the scenes in the Tekken development team. Of course, maybe it doesn't have the scale with what happened with Ono and Capcom fighting games, but maybe it follows the same logic. Maybe they have a ton of financial concerns about the game, and they take this balance route because they want to sell more copies to casuals. And maybe, we think that Tekken 8 has been very, very successful financially, and it is one of the best-selling Tekken games of all time. But maybe creating Tekken 8 was incredibly expensive, and they need to sell more, or they are not gonna get that much of a big budget for example, Tekken 9 or another Tekken Tag or whatever, a spin-off of the franchise they want to do. We don't really know everything that is going on, but with what happened with this patch and the atrocious direction that the game is going in terms of balance, to me at least, it is incredibly obvious that the Tekken development team has, an internal crisis. I just cannot understand how they would get these changes out there and not have the level of consciousness to say, people are not gonna like this. We will have to wait, of course, and see what happens with the balanced direction of this game, with what are, the financial and budgetary concerns for the Tekken franchise if they ever get to be public. But I just wanted to talk about this specific perspective about what's going on with the game, because I feel like it is something that maybe people ignore that has a ton of influence on what is going on with the game. So hopefully the Tekken franchise is fine, and even though it sold very well, hopefully it is enough so we can have Tekken 9 and Tekken in the future, and this is not, a huge crisis for Tekken as a franchise. Hopefully also they make some sort of emergency patch and take some of the bullshit that they put in the game away, because some of the stuff that they added to some characters is the most ridiculous things that you have ever seen in a fighting game. I hope that you enjoyed the video. Like and subscribe and leave a comment. What do you think about the development team of Tekken 8? Is there a problem inside that we don't know about? And see you on the next video, guys.
Round 2. Fight.